Manager exposed after refusing service to Black woman discover the incredible truth about her. The news hit Maplewood like a thunderclap. Residents whispered in shocked tones over coffee and apple pie, recounting the scene at Betty's diner. Sarah, a hard-working single mother, had walked in during her break, hungry for a bite and a moment's peace. She'd given so much of herself, juggling 2 jobs to provide for her young son, Tyler, and her ailing mother. But in an instant her world shattered. Mike, the diner's manager, turned her away, dismissing her with a wave and a gruff, "We don't serve your kind here." The words hung heavy in the air, cutting deeper than any knife. Everyone in town had seen it, or at least they thought they had. The townsfolk, accustomed to the warm embrace of comfort food and community, now felt the chill of division. Sarah was well known, her laughter echoing through the streets, her spirit unwavering despite the weight of her reality. That day, however, her spirit dulled as she walked out, the laughter replaced by hushed voices. Tyler's eyes, brimming with innocence, had witnessed his mother's humiliation. In that moment he saw her pain and it pierced through him. Moments later, sympathy and outrage swept through Maplewood like wildfire. Social media buzzed with heated debates. Sarah was no longer just a waitress. She became a symbol of resilience and dignity for many. Friends shared her story, vowing to back her up. Others defended Mike, claiming he was just doing his job, blind to the biases that tainted his decision. As the diner's reputation crumbled, the essence of the community began to fray at the edges. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Days turned into weeks, and town meetings began to feel more like battlegrounds. Sarah's heart sank as friends became foes, and simple dinners turned into messy confrontations. It took everything within her not to crumble under the spotlight. She just wanted to be the mother Tyler needed. The deeper she delved into the community's responses, the more she realized the discomfort was about more than just her singular incident. It exposed the raw nerves of a town navigating its identity amid complex economic and social structures. In a moment of boldness, Sarah asked Mike to meet her after closing. She needed answers, clarity, anything to make sense of the chaos swirling around them. Instead of confrontation, she found a shared vulnerability seeping through the walls of the diner. Mike had his own stories of hardship, ones that shaped him. The conversation awakened something in both of them, a need for understanding, a desire to heal the wounds they hadn't even known existed. As they stood amidst the vinyl booths and the smell of fried food, emotions thickened the air. It was a breaking point, one that could either splinter their lives further apart or weave a new thread of connection. The diner, once a place for family gatherings and spirited conversations, stood on the brink of becoming a bridge or a battleground. With a deep breath, Sarah prepared her next words, poised to redefine their fates and the town's future. Would Maplewood rise together or stumble in division? The air was electric, thick with unspoken questions and unhealed wounds. Sarah took a small step forward, her heart racing like a train barreling down the tracks. She searched Mike's eyes, looking for something: understanding, regret, an inkling of humanity. A part of her ached to lash out, to demand justice for the wrongs she had endured. But another part whispered a deeper truth. Healing couldn't begin with anger. "Mike," she started, her voice steady but soft, "why did you say that? I know you don't truly mean it." "You can't." He looked away briefly, guilt washing over his features. "It was a stupid moment, I didn't think," he admitted, rubbing the back of his neck, a gesture of frustration and regret. "I was overwhelmed. Some of the regulars, they've got strong opinions and I just strong opinions?" Sarah interrupted, a mix of disbelief and hurt spilling over. "You let them dictate who deserves a place in your diner? You turned away someone who needed kindness." Mike's shoulders slumped and he sighed deeply. "You're right. I was scared. Scared of losing my job. Scared of the backlash. But it doesn't excuse what I did." His voice wavered, heavy with the weight of realizations. "It's just I thought I was protecting my business." "Protecting it from what?" "Change. It's muffins and burgers, not a war zone, she replied, frustration bubbling to the surface. What about the people you serve? The ones who walk in here hoping for solace just like I was? The moment hung suspended between them, echoing against the diner's peeling walls. Silence settled, broken only by the quiet hum of the old diner lights above, like a respite in a world that seemed to be shouting. Look, Mike said, his voice barely above a whisper. I want to make it right. I need to make it right. Sarah was taken aback. This was a different side of Mike, one she hadn't expected. She had seen him as just the man who locked the door on her that day. Yet here he was, revealing cracks in his carefully built facade. But how? Sarah asked, her voice almost trembling now. How can we heal this? You shattered a lot of trust. He looked around the diner, his gaze lingering on the empty tables and dusty booths. Maybe we start by talking to the people that matter, the community. We could hold an event, bring everyone together. I'll invite you to share your story, to speak your truth. Maybe it could remind them of our humanity? The thought hung in the air, heavy but hopeful. Sarah pictured the diner buzzing with voices, not just in anger, but in understanding. A moment where they could confront their fears together, where they could choose unity over division, as she considered his offer. A flicker of hope ignited within her. I could give that a try. Then something in her gut twisted. Would it really work? Would Maplewood be willing to listen, to change for the better? Just then, the bell above the door jingled, and 3 familiar faces stepped inside, their expressions wary and uncertain. They had come to confront Mike, and it was clear they weren't ready to forgive. The heart of Maplewood was about to be faced with its own reflection, a moment of reckoning that could either fracture their fragile connections or forge a new path forward. As Sarah exchanged quick glances with Mike, she felt the knot of uncertainty tighten in her chest. The reckoning was coming, one she could no longer shy away from. And it wouldn't just be bold words echoing off diner walls. It would demand courage, honesty, and a willingness to heal. Could they all find a way to come together for something greater? Or would the past drag them back into the shadows? What awaited them beyond those diners' doors felt both terrifying and full of promise. The trio stepped inside, the bell's jingle echoing like a warning shot through the diner. Sarah recognized them instantly. Faces she had seen before during her moments of vulnerability, when she had shared her life over coffee and pancakes. Now they looked more like a court of judges than casual diners. An older woman named Clara, her brow furrowed in skepticism, crossed her arms tightly over her chest. Beside her, a younger man named Jay shifted uncomfortably, glancing between Sarah and Mike. The last was Tara, a fierce activist who spoke loudly and passionately about community issues, but now appeared uncharacteristically quiet. What's going on here? Clara's voice rang out, sharp and demanding. We heard about what you did, Mike. You think you can just apologize and everything will be fine? Mike, taken aback, took a half-step closer to Sarah, as if steeling himself for the confrontation he must have known was coming. I know. You don't get to explain. Not after shutting her out. Tara's voice echoed with anger. But there was an edge of pain in it too. We have a right to be here. All of us. You don't get to decide who belongs. The tension thickened. Sarah felt her heart pounding harder in her chest. Every word exchanged became a crucial swing of a pendulum, pushing towards some kind of resolution or further chaos. Wait, Sarah interjected, stepping forward. Please let us talk about this. The group turned to her, expressions shifting from hostility to uncertainty. Sarah, you don't have to stand up for him, Jay murmured, confusion evident on his face. You were hurt by him. I know, Sarah said, feeling her throat tighten. But we won't heal by yelling at each other. I'm willing to help him make things right. I can share my story, what happened to me, only if you're willing to listen. Clara's frown deepened. You think talking is going to make it okay? She challenged. I don't know, Sarah admitted, her voice shaking slightly. But it has to start somewhere. If we can show them why kindness matters, why we all matter, maybe that's a step forward. Silence enveloped the diner. The distant sounds of plates clattering from the kitchen drifting in like muted echoes of another world. Mike's eyes met Sarah's, an unspoken plea shimmering in the depths, as if he was asking her to carry the weight of this moment with him. Maybe we need to hear your story, Tara offered, her tone softening just enough for a glimmer of understanding to break through her anger. But we need to hold Mike accountable too, so he doesn't do this again. The room breathed, a fragile moment unfurling within the clench of tension. Mike nodded, his expression a mixture of desperation and hope. "I'm ready to listen," he said, his voice stronger than before. "I'll do everything I can to make this right." After a long pause, Clara finally nodded, albeit reluctantly. "We'll see if words can change anything. But don't think this will be easy. We will demand more than just promises." "Then let us do it together," Sarah replied, her heart racing, feeling both the weight of her decision and the flickering flame of hope. "Let's bring our stories to light." As the group slowly began to talk, Sarah couldn't shake the feeling that they were all standing on the precipice of something monumental. This was the moment she had been waiting for. Yet fear curled at the edges of her resolve. Would they truly be able to bridge the gap between their different experiences? As voices began to rise in the diner, a fire igniting with spoken truths, Sarah felt hope and anxiety wrestle within her. Together they were setting up for a possibility she never dreamed could happen. But as the weight of their shared histories lay heavy in the air, she questioned if the path they were walking could truly lead to healing, or if it would uncover deeper divides. Could they confront their shared past and emerge stronger? Or was this just another attempt at pretending everything would be okay? As their voices began to intertwine like threads in a tapestry, the diner felt alive with tension and the flicker of possibility. Sarah stood at the center, her heart racing like an old engine trying to start. She took a deep breath, ready to share, aware that the room was still gripped by unease. "I didn't want to feel alone anymore," she began, her voice quivering slightly. "When Mike shut me out, it hurt like hell. I thought I mattered less to him. I thought I mattered less to everyone." Her eyes flicked from Clara to Jay, landing on Tara. It felt like I was screaming into an empty room. Mike shifted, his gaze intense as he listened. She could almost see him grappling with every word she spoke. Behind his remorse, there was fear of losing her completely. "I buried myself in work, thinking if I just pushed harder, I could forget how crushed I felt." As flashes of that time surged within her, anger tinged her voice. "But the more I worked, the more isolated I became. It's like I was shouting and no one heard me. Until I came here and you all were so welcoming." Clara's expression began to soften, her arms still crossed, yet her grip loosened slightly. "But why would you stand up for him? He did you wrong." "Because I believe in redemption," Sarah replied, her heart pounding in her chest, each word an arrow shot towards understanding. "I believe we can change. Mike has a chance to do better. But he can't do it alone. And neither can I. We all have stories, pain that connects us." Tara stepped in, the fire in her voice slowly dimming to a gentle burn. "You think sharing will help him, but what about the rest of us? What if you just end up hurt again?" "I'm scared too," Sarah confessed, feeling the weight of their collective fear. "But healing doesn't come from staying silent. Comes from sharing." She paused, searching for connections. "We all want our voices heard, don't we? It's not just about me and Mike. It's about all of us." Jay, who had been listening intently, nodded slowly. "It's easy to ignore what we don't want to see. It's easier to walk away. But we can't keep doing that." His voice grew steadier. "We need to keep this conversation going. All of us." Clara finally uncrossed her arms and leaned slightly toward the table, her eyes reflecting the warm, dim light of the diner. "Okay, let's see where this goes. I'll listen." Sarah felt a rush of relief, as if a dam had cracked under pressure. Hope mingled with fear in her chest. Maybe they could start breaking down the barriers they had built out of hurt. "Thank you," she whispered, feeling tears prick at the edges of her eyes. Tara laid her hand on Sarah's. "We're going to hold everyone accountable, Mike. You need to understand that. No more hiding." Mike swallowed hard. "Promise. I'll own my mistakes. And I'll learn from them if you help me." His voice broke slightly, and Sarah could see the sincerity glisten in his eyes. As the group settled into a less confrontational rhythm, the soft hum of conversation began to replace the earlier tension. Stories flowed, revealing layers they had not seen in each other before. Laughter mingled with cries of pain, and slowly walls began to crumble. But as the air cleared, an unspoken question hung heavily over them. Could this fragile peace hold? Or would the echoes of past hurt resurface, possibly shattering the newfound connection? All eyes turned towards Sarah, who felt their collective hopes resting upon her shoulders. It was a heavy load, but in that moment, She realized they were all standing in solidarity, vulnerable yet strong. Let us keep talking, she urged, her voice steady now. Let us make this a process, not just a moment. And as the group agreed to continue, a sense of unity blossomed. Yet just as the dawn of healing seemed to break, the bell above the diner door jingled once more, and a familiar face stepped inside, a face that could tilt the balance of everything they had just begun to build. The moment the bell jingled, Sarah's heart skipped a beat. The familiar figure stood silhouetted against the light pouring in from outside. It was Rachel, the woman from the neighborhood who had once been a part of their close-knit circle. A knot twisted in Sarah's stomach as memories of Rachel's laughter and friendship collided with the knowledge of how things had ended. Rachel paused in the doorway, her expression shifting from confusion to recognition as her eyes scanned the diner's interior. The moment stretched like taffy, thick with tension. She was here, but what did that mean? Would she bring back memories that had been buried with pain, or offer a new perspective they hadn't yet considered? Sarah. Rachel's voice quivered slightly, disbelief tinting her tone, like an echo of an old song. Rachel, Sarah finally managed, her throat thickening with unspoken emotions. Spin. Too long, Rachel finished for her, stepping fully inside the diner, which seemed to hold its breath. The warmth that had filled the room moments before turned brittle, as if winter had abruptly descended. Mike's eyes darted to Sarah, uncertainty shadowing his features. The context of Rachel's presence lingered like a ghost, pulling at the frayed edges of the new connection they had formed. Do you want to join us? Jay asked, his voice a bit for peace, a bridge across a chasm formed by silence. Rachel hesitated, glancing around the table, her gaze landing on Clara and Tara. I didn't mean to interrupt. Please, it's okay, Clara interjected, her voice steadier now, though a flicker of apprehension passed across her face. We're all just talking. Rachel took a tentative step forward, apprehension warring with old familiarity. Talking about what? About everything, Tara replied, her tone inviting. Our lives, our struggles, and the need to be heard. In that moment, Sarah felt the shift. Rachel had always been fiercely passionate about justice and speaking out against the very issues they were discussing. Perhaps this was a chance for Rachel to shed light on experiences that could amplify their understanding of one another. Then I'm in, Rachel said finally, a spark igniting in her dark eyes. I've got a lot to say. As she settled into the booth, Sarah caught a glance of Mike's tight-lipped expression, the weight of an unspoken challenge settling between them like a dense fog. Rachel had always demanded honesty, and this reunion would force every one of them to confront those things they buried. Let us start with the real stuff, Rachel said, leaning forward as if she were sparking a fire. I don't call people out just because. I do it because we can't pretend our history doesn't matter. We've got to face it. All of it. The room crackled with newfound energy, the air electric with unvoiced truths. Sarah could see Clara tense, the armor she had just begun to lower snapping back into place. Tara watched, looking ready to engage but also trapped in her own past. Mike shifted in his seat, eyes narrowing as he braced for whatever might unfold next. Are you ready for that? Rachel's gaze turned searching. Sarah felt the weight of anticipation wrap around her like a heavy cloak. This was uncharted territory, and there was no turning back. I think so, she replied, her voice steadier now. But I don't know what we're going to find. That uncertainty hung in the air, each person on edge, each heart pounding with the promise of change. As Rachel's expression grew resolute, Sarah realized they weren't simply revisiting old wounds. They were on the brink of something transformative. But before Rachel could speak, the door swung open again, and another figure stepped inside, pulling everyone's attention back and igniting a new ripple of tension. Are you all still arguing in here? A familiar voice called out, and all eyes widened, capturing the moment before it spiraled into chaos. Who could possibly be next? The diner's door creaked again and a wave of familiarity washed over Sarah in a rush of conflicting emotions. As the figure stepped forward, recognition painted itself clearly on everyone's face. It was Melissa, the diner's owner, her hands planted firmly on her hips, defiance sparking in her eyes. What's going on here? She asked, her voice cutting the tension like a knife. Are we getting some kind of complaint? Sarah felt Mike's hand tighten around his coffee cup. She could sense the shift in atmosphere, the sense of resolve shifting to uncertainty. So many emotions were brewing, simmering under the surface. Rachel had just ignited a conversation that threatened to expose deep-seated truths, and now Melissa seemed to be the unexpected catalyst for whatever would happen next. "Nothing is wrong, Melissa," Jay replied quickly, trying to ease the situation before it escalated. "We were just catching up, sharing some life experiences." "Life experiences?" Melissa echoed, her tone skeptical. "Is that what you're calling it? Sounds to me like trouble brewing." She approached the booth, arms folded tight across her chest. All eyes turned to Rachel, her expression fierce yet composed. "What's your definition of trouble?" she asked, her voice steady. "Because if it's about facing our truths, then maybe that's the bravest thing we can do right now." "That's easy for you to say," Melissa shot back, "but some people don't understand how to keep their mouth shut." "I don't need any drama." The words hung in the air, heavy as a storm cloud. Sarah could see Clara start to withdraw again, her gaze moving down to the table. Tara leaned forward, eager to jump into the fray, while Mike watched, visibly bracing himself for the fallout. "Maybe the drama is necessary," Tara said softly. "You can't pretend no one has been hurt. That's not the reality." "Exactly," Rachel added. "We all have scars, Melissa. You bury painful things, they don't just vanish. They turn into anger and resentment." Melissa's expression flickered, a mix of irritation and something deeper, perhaps guilt. Sarah held her breath, hoping to witness a crack in her hardened exterior. But Melissa pushed back, defiance returning. "And stirring things up won't heal those scars, will it? You're all playing with fire. One wrong move and boom." But Sarah sensed a better path and decided to call out Melissa's discomfort. "Maybe we've been silent for too long. Maybe this isn't just about old friends reconnecting. Maybe we're all confronting the things we didn't know we were avoiding. You can too." Melissa's eyes flickered. Her defenses sputtered for just a moment. "You think I'm scared?" she retorted, but there was a tremor in her voice now. Sarah took a deep breath, feeling the weight of everyone's anticipation like a thick fog. "No, I think we're all scared. But I wonder what happens when we stop letting fear control us?" Silence settled once more, heavy with the gravity of shared vulnerability. Rachel looked around the booth, taking in the intensity of each person's expression. "The truth can be ugly, but facing it could lead us somewhere better," she suggested softly. "It starts with communication, and we all have a voice in it." Melissa's defiance shifted into a cautious equation. The room was ripe for breakthroughs or breakdowns. Sarah could sense the delicate balance between past grievances and future reconciliation, and that's when the bell jingled again, the door swinging wide, ushering in a new presence, one that felt like a gust of changing winds. A figure Sarah barely recognized stepped inside, an uncertain hope flickering in their eyes. "Did I miss something important?" the newcomer asked, catching everyone off guard. Sarah's heart raced. Who were they? What more could they possibly add to this already tangled web? The newcomer stepped inside, their uncertain gaze sweeping the room and landing on the faces of the friends who hadn't seen them in years. Sarah's pulse quickened as recognition dawned on her. It was Jamie, a name they all once associated with laughter and friendship. But that laughter had faded into memories long buried. "Jamie." Melissa broke the silence, her surprise palpable. "What are you doing here?" "I might ask the same," Jamie replied, her voice steady but laced with unspent emotion. "I heard there was a gathering, and I thought maybe it was time to reconnect. It's been a while." Clara's face lit up for a split moment, her guard softened. "We've missed you," she said, her voice barely above a whisper, but the warmth in it was undeniable. Tara shifted on the booth, curiosity flickering in her eyes. "We were just talking about, well, things that matter." "Things we've avoided," Rachel added softly, looking pointedly at Melissa. Jamie surveyed the group, the weight of the conversation pressing down like a lead blanket. "I guess those things don't disappear, do they?" "No, we've just stuffed them down," Tara replied, her fingers nervously tracing the rim of her glass. "What's worse is that it hurts, Jamie. We all carry that hurt, and I think it's time we start unpacking it." Melissa's tension rippled back into focus. "Just because you're here doesn't mean anyone wants to stir anything up." "Melissa," Sarah jumped in, her voice firm yet empathetic, "we're all here to support each other. What if Jamie's presence is precisely what we need? It's about facing our shared truths." Jamie suddenly seemed to bloom under the gathered attention. I remember when we would all sit together, sharing dreams and fears in this very diner. It was a safe space, but somewhere along the line we let things divide us. Melancholy flashed in Jamie's eyes. I had to move away, and I remember our last moments together not so fondly. I'm not here to dredge up the past, but to talk about what we can do differently. Rachel leaned forward, intrigued. What if we do that together? What if we take those memories, the good and the bad, and allow them to guide us towards something better? A murmur of agreement rippled around the table, but Melissa's stance remained rigid. You're talking about needs and wants, not realities. The past isn't easy to change. Maybe not, Jamie said, but we can create a new narrative. Look, we can't pretend those hurtful moments didn't happen. But we can choose how they define us going forward. Sarah could feel the room shifting again, as if the very air vibrated with the possibility of change. But then the flutter of uncertainty danced across Clara's face. And what if we fail? What if this conversation only reopens old wounds? Or what if it heals them? Mike offered, glancing at Rachel before locking his gaze on the table. We won't know until we try. Tension hung thick once more, like a rope about to snap, each heart racing with the potential of this gathering. Melissa pulled in a deep breath, her posture softening slightly. I just want to protect what this place represents, what it used to be. If we start this conversation, are we prepared for the fallout? Sarah looked around and saw a flicker of hope in Jamie's eyes. Then she glanced at each friend, heart racing. Maybe we start small. One truth at a time. If it's too much, we can step back. But this is a chance we can't ignore. Jamie nodded, her expression brightening with resolve. Let us take it. Let us see just how far our truths can take us. But before anyone could respond, the door swung open once more. This time revealing someone who could change everything again, an unexpected figure from Jamie's past, whose return could complicate the already delicate balance in the diner. The atmosphere turned electric with possibility and fear. Jamie, there you are, they called out, catching everyone off guard. Sarah felt the weight of their gaze, knowing a storm was about to brew. Jamie's heart raced as she faced the newcomer, a figure from her past she had never expected to see again. The air crackled with tension, thick enough to cut with a knife. She went pale, recognizing the voice. Derek, her high school ex-boyfriend, standing with an incredulous look on his face. Derek? She managed to say, her voice barely above a whisper. The whole diner held its breath, eyes darting back and forth. Caught in this moment of unexpected collision, he stepped closer, his expression shifting from surprise to something unreadable. I heard you were back in town. It's wild seeing you here. Tara glanced at Jamie, concern etched on her face. You know him? Yeah, he is someone from my past, Jamie replied slowly. Memories began flooding back, bittersweet moments, laughter that had turned to silence. The well of emotions was threatening to overflow. Melissa crossed her arms, her body language constricting like a tight coil. This is just what we need right now, she said scornfully, the tone making it clear she wasn't ready to coddle anyone. Derek zeroed in on Jamie. I didn't mean to interrupt. I just thought you might want to catch up. He shifted from foot to foot, painfully aware of the tension. Catch up? Jamie felt a rising panic. The last time they had caught up, it had ended in heartbreak. What do you really want, Derek? He hesitated, searching for words. I want to apologize. I was stupid back then and I underappreciated you. I was too wrapped up in my own world. Yes, you were, Jamie shot back, feelings of anger surfacing. You left me behind when I needed you the most. You don't get to just waltz back into my life and pretend like nothing happened. The warmth in the diner now seemed to cool off, the light chatter ceasing as they all turned to watch the unfolding drama. Clara looked between them, worry etched on her face. Sarah squeezed her hands together, unsure of how to comfort either of them. Derek ran a hand through his hair, anguish evident in his eyes. I understand that I can't change the past. I've been struggling too, trying to be better. I just wanted the chance to make it right. What does that even mean? Jamie demanded, her voice rising. You think a simple apology can fix things? We've both moved on, have we? Derek interrupted, his intensity catching everyone off guard. I've never moved on from you. You're still the one that got away. Heavy silence hung over the group, as if the walls themselves were leaning in to witness this moment. Rachel buried her face in her hands, while Tara looked back and forth, Caught between wanting to support Jamie and wanting to comfort Derek's evident vulnerability, Melissa, however, wasn't ready to let this slide, her voice cutting through the tension. You think you can just come back here and stir everything up? This isn't just about you and Jamie. You can't just barge in and expect us to let you rewrite our history. I didn't ask for permission. Derek shot back, frustration coloring his words. I came here to face what I did wrong, and I see people I hurt along the way. I expect to be challenged for it. I deserve it. Jamie felt the heat rise in her chest. It was one thing to confront her past relationship with Derek. It was another to see the others caught in the crossfire. See, this is what happens, Jamie said, turning to the group with raised eyebrows. This is why I left. I wanted to avoid moments like this. Just then the room buzzed with growing unease. Sarah clenched her fists. Maybe this is exactly what we need, she breathed, glancing around the table. A small seed of thought blossomed. Maybe facing the past together is the only way to keep it from overshadowing our future. If we're willing to be honest. Honest? Derek asked, urgency filling his voice. Then let us be honest. I want to know, Jamie. What did I really mean to you? Jamie's heart raced, the question echoing in her mind. This was a twist she hadn't anticipated tonight. As she searched for the right words, the diner's atmosphere became charged with emotion. She knew this was more than just about her and Derek. It was about every unspoken truth nestled in their hearts, eager to be revealed. With all eyes on her, she hesitated. A reflection of her past awaited her answer. But would she be brave enough to face it? And as that question hung in the air like a heavy weight, a sudden loud crash outside startled everyone. The noise shattered the moment, pulling every gaze towards the window, where chaos had erupted, a diversion from the emotional avalanche that was brewing. What now? Clara whispered, fear bleeding into her tone. That chaos felt like the calm before another storm, and Jamie wondered, with her heart pounding rapidly, if they could ever get back to the conversation they desperately needed to have. The diner erupted into a whirlwind of confusion. Glasses clattered and chairs scraped against the floor as a group of people rushed outside to see what had happened. Jamie instinctively leaned closer to the window, her pulse quickening as she caught sight of a scene that was quickly escalating. Outside, a small group of protesters held signs, angry voices raised. The words "enough is enough" echoed through the air, sending a ripple of tension back into the diner. Derek's expression shifted to concern, and for a moment, the weight of their unresolved feelings dissipated, replaced by a shared confusion over this sudden outburst. "What's going on?" Tara asked, straining to catch a glimpse through the diner's fogged glass. "I don't know, it looks like a protest or something," Melissa replied, her brows knitted together as she kept her arms crossed defensively. The atmosphere was thick but shifting. People were on high alert, their comfort shattered as they edged closer to the window. Jamie felt something strange pull at her heart. She turned back to Derek, who met her gaze with an intensity that seemed to override the noise outside. "Do you think we should?" She started, but he interrupted her, his voice low. "Let us check it out," he said, glancing around the corner of the diner. The tension between them dissipated momentarily, replaced with a shared curiosity. With hesitance, they both stood up. That same urge that had driven them apart now nudged them to seek some form of unity, however fleeting it may have been. "Are you serious?" Melissa asked. "We're just going to leave everything that's happening here?" "Maybe it's important," Jamie replied, challenging the disapproval in Melissa's eyes. "Maybe this is something we all need to confront, together." The group lingered for a moment longer before a collective decision led them all toward the door. They moved as if they were part of a one-time journey born from shared history and present anxiety. Outside, the scene was chaotic. A woman stood at the front of the crowd, her hands raised in defiance as she spoke passionately. "This is not just about one incident. It's about our rights and our dignity." Jamie's heart ached at the sight. The sight of voices unified in strength felt both powerful and necessary. For a brief moment, the weight of her past dissipated, overshadowed by the urgency of this moment. "See, this is why we need to talk," Derek said beside her, acknowledging a truth that resonated beyond their own drama. Jamie nodded, uncertain where her emotions would take her but feeling a spark of responsibility swell within her. They had all faced battles before, but this felt bigger than any one of them could face alone. A gasp left the crowd as the local diner's manager, a familiar figure to Jamie, stepped outside. His denial of service to the woman at the front now painted his character in a light she never wanted to believe was true. "You're not welcome here," he shouted, tension tightening the air. Derek's condemnation was evident in his expression. "What the hell is he doing?" he muttered. Jamie shared his outrage, the implications of that moment reaching deep into their past. Despite her tumultuous feelings about Derek, the fight ignited within her. She caught his eye, knowing somehow that both their past and present hinged together at this very moment. They couldn't just stand by. This wasn't just about them anymore. "Let us speak up," Jamie insisted, stepping forward, knowing she had to be a part of this collective struggle that transcended her own emotional upheaval. As they moved to support the cause, she remembered that in confrontation lay clarity, and sometimes, in the chaos of uncertainty, the threads of connection could lead to healing. Just as the atmosphere seemed to ignite with potential, a shout rang out from the edge of the crowd, a familiar voice she hadn't expected to hear. "Jamie, wait!" And just like that, the story shifted again, throwing another unexpected twist into her already tumultuous night. With her heart racing in confusion, she turned to see who had called her name, bracing herself once more for the unknown. "Jamie, wait!" The urgency of that call sliced through the commotion surrounding the diner. Jamie blinked and turned, her heart pounding in anticipation. She spotted a figure pushing through the crowd, Angela, an old friend she hadn't seen in years. Angela's face was flushed, anxiety eking across her features as she rushed toward Jamie. "Angela, what are you doing here?" Jamie exclaimed, her surprise cutting through the tumult in her heart. "I heard about what happened to Sarah and I knew I had to come. This isn't just about the diner anymore. It's about all of us. Our community." "I didn't think it would escalate like this," Angela replied, her breathless urgency reflecting the chaotic energy around them. Jamie's gaze returned to the protest, the atmosphere alive with rising determined voices. The sight of the woman at the front, a spirited figure standing firm against Mike's outburst, made Jamie's resolve harden. "You're right," she said to Angela, her voice steadying. "We can't stand by anymore." With newfound courage, Jamie edged closer to the front of the crowd, Derek by her side. As they stepped forward, the fight sparked fiercer in her heart. "This is about our dignity," the woman shouted again, and Jamie felt the truth of those words resonate softly and then swell like a tide. They needed to confront their pain, not just for themselves, but for everyone who had ever felt silenced. "Everyone listen," Jamie called out, a newfound strength infusing her voice. The crowd quieted, eyes turning toward her. "We have to face our histories. We can't bury our issues thinking they'll go away. We carry them within us and they define our actions, like what happened at the diner." Derek stepped forward beside her. "I'm guilty too. I thought ignoring the past would protect me. But that's a lie that keeps us divided," he added, his cheeks flushed, vulnerability spilling forth. "We need to talk about our mistakes." A ripple traveled through the crowd as people whispered and murmured their agreement. The energy shifted from anger to a powerful sense of community. It felt exhilarating. "Let us make change together," Angela shouted, her arms open wide, inviting connection. "Let us create a new path." A surge of commitment ran through the crowd. Sarah, watching quietly from a distance, felt her heart swell. Here was the moment a shift was happening. They were all faced with sharing their truths, breaking down walls that divided them, and standing in solidarity against the things that kept them apart. "Together," Rachel echoed from the back, raising her fist in the air, the fire of determination lighting her eyes. "Together we can change this." It was a call to arms, a reminder that healing happened when hearts opened wide. The protesters returned the theme, chanting together, until it became a chorus. Jamie felt a fierce pride illuminating her spirit. With each chant, they were weaving their stories into a tapestry of hope, their collective voices resonating louder than any individual hurt. "Are we willing to face the truth?" Jamie shouted, met with renewed enthusiasm from the crowd. "Are we ready to shift our narratives and create something better?" "Yes," rang the response, as if the entire street vibrated with a collective pulse. The weight of their past missteps felt less burdensome now, one step at a time. They were forging a path toward healing. The memory of that fateful day at Betty's diner hung in the air, But there, standing against the tide, was a community ready to embrace change. As the last embers of dusk faded into night, Jamie, Sarah, Derek, and Angela found each other in a circle of friends, a bright mosaic of hope. With tears glistening in her eyes, Jamie felt the energy shift. What had once been a fractured gathering was now a renewed family. This was their moment, an opportunity to redefine their futures, not just for themselves, but for the entire town. This was how connections thrive. And as they embraced the uncertainty of tomorrow, a single truth echoed deep within them. Healing didn't come easy, but it was beautiful when shared. So, let us take this story forward together. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Seriously. Comment your reactions and feelings about the ending. And share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. You need to subscribe now. Don't wait not even one more second to share. Real fans understand the importance of supporting our journey.